All right, well, right now I am at the Gettysburg Museum of History, and one of the things that we've talked about quite a bit in this American Artifact series are bring back souvenir items from World War II. And one of the most popular souvenirs that soldiers brought back were helmets. And you can see there is quite the collection of helmets here at the museum. But there are a lot of different variations. There are a lot of different models of German helmets. So today, Eric Dorr is going to kind of be walking us through some of the nuances and variations so that we can learn a little bit more about these souvenirs that were brought back in World War II.
One of the questions I get time and time again is, my grandfather brought home a helmet and I don't know anything about it and I don't know if it's real, and can I send you a photo of it? And I always say sure. A lot of people brought helmets back. A lot of people who were stationed in Europe even after World War II brought them back. The problem with a lot of them are that they've been tampered with or repainted post-war. And I'm gonna go over a few helmets here and give you some real basic information. Now, I'm not gonna go over every little rivet and every little size and every little manufacturing company. There is a whole science to this. You know, there are guys that eat, breathe, and sleep helmets, and they're super experts, but I'm just going to give you a basic rundown of the development of the helmet, why there are some variety like that, and I decided to just use basically combat helmets today. I didn't bring out the fire helmets and the civic helmets and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to start actually because some of the German helmets that we see that are World War II or have World War II symbols on them were really World War I helmets originally. So I'm going to start here. This is the German World War I spiked helmet or pickelhaube that was used at the beginning of the war, 1914, 1915. And the problem with that helmet is it's made out of leather. And so it didn't give a lot of protection. It's a cool looking helmet for parades, has that cool spike, and it has that eagle, that Bavarian or Prussian eagle on there. And in combat, they just simply put a canvas cover over that for camouflage purposes. And they noticed, you know, in World War I, as World War I progressed, it went into trench warfare. And in trench warfare, the part that's most exposed to artillery fire, at least, is your head. You're in a trench, and your head is the highest point, and there was all kinds of artillery going on, and so they noticed that there was a lot of wounds coming into hospitals that were head wounds, and some of it was like the slightest bit of small shrapnel. So they decided the need for a steel helmet, so they developed the steel helmet, and all the nations did that were engaged. The French did the same thing, a variation of it. The United States and the Brits did a steel helmet as well. But these are the first ones that came out. And you know, there's Austrian ones, there's German ones, there's different sizes. Probably the most notable difference in these helmets are these lugs here. Now, these lugs were put on here to adapt to what's called a brow plate. There was a plate that would go over for snipers and certain specialty people in trenches, and they had to fit. So they make these helmets in different sizes, and so some were a little bit smaller than others, but they only made one size brow plate as far as I know. So the smaller helmets, this is a size 64 helmet, would have this extra piece here. It's an extra ring, and that was just so the brow plate could fit on better. This is a bigger size. This is a size 66 or 68, I believe. And they started painting them camouflage for trench warfare. This one has a bullet hole in it, which is interesting. It was a bullet struck helmet. So after World War I, when the Nazis came into power, they started repurposing some of these World War I helmets in the early days. So this is an SS double decal helmet that would have been pre-1935. And it's black. They just took a regular World War I helmet, painted it black, and put the decals on it. There would be a Nazi flag shield on this side, and on the other side, without pulling it down, we would have an SS decal such as this on the other side. So they used those. The Army used them as well. The remaining German Army, the Army was very small up until, it was limited by the Treaty of Versailles, and so they had a very small army, but they repurposed them. So you also see other branches of the military using this type of helmet, but this is an SS one, which is pretty rare, actually. So in 1934, they developed this model. This is the Model 34, and it's thin. It's a little bit thinner than the helmets that would come out later, and that's a police helmet. And it's, I'm just turning it around here. It has the police decal on the other side. It's a double decal. And it has this type of liner in it. And so that was only produced for a brief amount of time. They came out with the Model 35 helmet. So this is an Army Model 35 helmet. Notice the washer or vent hole. They kept that. Another purpose of the vent hole that I was talking, or the lugs that I was talking about earlier, there was for some ventilation besides holding the brow plate. When you have a steel helmet on, especially if it gets warm, your head gets really, really hot, and so it also serves the purpose of a vent hole. And this is an Army double decal Model 35. Had the Army decal on the one side, the tri shield on the other side, and it has a liner that looks like this. And those were produced from 1935 up until 1940 when they came out with this version. Now this one was painted camouflage, and they put a chicken wire on for camouflage. But the difference is this hole. The vent hole is, instead of being two pieces like that, this was directly put into the helmet. And again, it has a similar liner as the other one. Also, they dropped the decals. This would have originally had a decal, but they dropped the tri-color shield. So most of the ones that you'll see from the Model 40 on is what we call a single decal. So in 1942, they came out with this. This is the Model 42, has a similar vent hole, but they didn't roll the edge. If you notice on the 35 and the 40, the edge is rolled, and this is just saving them a step in manufacturing. This is a very minty example. We've shown this on another video. This is an SS single decal Model 42 helmet. And again, I'm not going to get into a lot of the sizing or any of that stuff, but I'm just trying to show the basic types right here.
Real quick, I want to talk about another variation with these helmets. So as you can see right here, we have a couple of M35s that have been painted. Now these were done by the soldiers in the field, because take a look at this helmet here. Look at that shine and that sheen there. Okay, that is really going to cause some problems in the field and draw some attention if the sun hits it. So soldiers in the field would paint their helmets to kind of reflect the environment that was around them. These helmets here are painted in what is called a Normandy pattern. So you have a little bit of a tan and green and kind of this reddish brown color. In the Mediterranean, you'll see more of a tan, and they have snow camo helmets. This one in particular is really interesting because you can see it has a little bit of extra ventilation in it. This is a bullet-struck helmet, and if I turn it around, we can see the exit on this side. And whenever we're talking about German helmets, well, I have a special place in my heart for the chicken wire helmets. So if you look at this helmet here, that is a very distinctive profile. And if a soldier sticks his head up and is silhouetted, you can tell that that is a German helmet. So what soldiers would do is they would take chicken wire and wrap it around the helmets and then stick pieces of vegetation in there to kind of break up the outline of this helmet. Now you really have to be careful whenever collecting these, because these chicken wires get faked like it is nobody's business. So whenever you get one, you really want to make sure that you either know what you're talking about or that you are getting one from someone who is trustworthy and reputable.
Another type of German helmet that you see here in this lineup is the paratrooper helmet, and you know its main characteristic is it does not have that skirt. You know, you notice on all these other helmets it has a skirt down there, kind of coming down over into the neck area or bottom of your skull. This has this profile, and the reason they started using that profile instead of having a typical German helmet was because when paratroopers would exit an aircraft, they get what's called prop blast, and a bunch of wind hits you, and this skirt could get pushed into their shoulders, and it caused injury. So they developed a helmet that looks more like an American helmet without that skirt. And it was better suited for paratroopers, and you know they had the single and double decal. This is a single decal, and it would have the Luftwaffe symbol on here because the German paratroopers were part of the Luftwaffe or Air Force, whereas the American paratroopers were part of the Army. And then they also used camouflage. This is a camouflage version of one, and has a very unique liner and chin strap. And this one's actually identified. It's painted camouflage, but it's also painted in here with a name. And this was brought back by an American veteran, and we call this wood chip camouflage because they would mix sawdust with the paint to kind of make it look less shiny and better camouflage. But this name is from a German paratrooper in the 6th Fallschirmjäger regiment, and they famously fought in the Battle of Normandy. So this is a really great ID'd helmet here. And another one I just wanted to mention is the tropical helmet. We see these quite a bit. This is really just a sun helmet, and in the tropical regions it would get really hot, and you know having a steel helmet on was a bit much. This is an Army and has the 2 shields on it. And it's basically what some people would call a pith helmet, but they call it a tropical sun helmet. Has a vent here. It's a lot cooler than a steel helmet. This was worn in the Africa campaign. And if you have a helmet, if you have a German helmet, please email us. info@GettysburgMuseumofHistory.com. It's one of our favorite things. You know, if you have one that was brought back by a veteran who is a relative, we'd be very interested in hearing about it. We would possibly either buy it, or if you wanted to donate it, or if you have a collection of them, we do sell them on our website. If you're looking to get an original one, go to GettysburgMuseumofHistory.com. We do have them for sale once in a while. If you see one, grab it, because they don't last very long on our website. They tend to be very popular on the website. But again, if you have one of these and you're interested in selling it or loaning it or donating it to us, please contact us. Helmets are one of our favorite artifacts. And this is just a small sample from our collection. We probably have 100 or more German helmets in our collection. I just wanted to bring out one of each of the basic types, and I hope this provided you with a little bit more information about them.
All right, so there you go. Again, this is not like an in-depth PhD level seminar on German helmets. This is just kind of a general overview. This is kind of like looking at German helmets from 30,000 feet. But anyway, very interesting to look at the different variations and to kind of reflect on the men who brought these things back home after the defeat of Nazi Germany. You can see them all right here at the Gettysburg Museum of History.